Shrinking Season 3 Premiere Review. Moving On begins. By author Diana Kang. One benefit to streaming platforms is that half-hour format shows can trot out the occasional supersized offering without having to snap it into artificial halves. The Shrinking Season 3 premiere, my bad, is a perfect hour of television. To quantify it, the writers provided a medley of scenes in the first 10 minutes of the show, elegantly getting us up to speed on every character's story from Jimmy to Louie, and introducing Jerry. Love that guy. Then, framing the theme around Sean's reluctance to move forward, they use the next 50 to bring each narrative to dynamic life with humor and heart. It's the ideal ratio of exposition to action. Honestly, it does get better than this. An adage about writers is that they fall into two categories: architects and gardeners. While the writing team behind Apple TV's Shrinking is a large collaborative room, Brett Goldstein, Bill Lawrence, and Jason Segel came to the project with a plan. They originally pitched the series as a 3-season arc that would address grief, healing, and moving on. Sticking with the plan, Shrinking Season 3 hits us with a whirlwind of change. And, although usually more positively viewed, change is just as challenging as grief and healing. My Bad kicks things off unapologetically with Dr. Sykes dumping Sean as part of her self-prescribed moving on strategy. This sets Paul up to introduce Sean to his concept of the field. The field is an intelligent energy force that knows who you were supposed to be, and it's going to keep demonstrating to you what it is you need to work on most over and over again until you start to do it. Paul writes the field will make its presence felt on all our core characters as they become greater versions of themselves in the process of moving on. As Alice learns here, moving on does mean letting go of everything. Both she and Jimmy must overcome the fear they prepare for next steps. As Paul's Parkinson's disease progresses, the implications on his life and livelihood are clear. He broaches the topic with Jimmy, considers what it means for him and Julie, and even graphically talks through the optics of covering up his tremors while in session with a client, meeting Jerry in Dr. Sykes' waiting room, and commiserating on the disease symptoms foreshadow the next stages of his Parkinson. But first, it provides the Season 3 mantra. "Fuck Parkinson," Jerry tells him, then insists he say it back. Once he shares it with the group, it's their touchstone. It conveys solidarity in defiance of the disease's effects on Paul and, by extension, on their collective. Everyone loves a bookend, it's true. The premiere begins and ends with him and Julie together. We open on him dealing with tremors and grumping at her desire to shower while he's finishing up his ablutions. And it ends with them realizing he's hallucinating Jerry eating cake at his dining room table. Part of moving forward for Alice and Jimmy is being able to joke about things like Tia's death. Not to make light of the event, but to accept it as part of the world they live in. It's no longer taboo because they've put in the work to heal the wound. As it turns out, everyone has a version of the dead mom card. Alice's is obviously the most effective, with Tia literally being her dead mom, but every member of the village that raised her during Jimmy's breakdown all lay claim to some level of that trauma trump. While it's a bit morbid to think that there's a silver lining to Tia's death, Alice does realize when describing her found family to the Wesleyan Scout that she fears losing them the way she lost her mom. "That was my cranky therapist, Grandpa. And that tall lady wearing all the colors? She's my hero godmother." Then there was Brian, who's my uncle godfather, and Sean. And the woman who made our goalie cry, that's my neighbor mother. And heads up, I can be responsible for what any of those people will do if you don't let me onto the team. Alice, part of the charm of Shrinking is how we've seen these characters grow and heal only to become more defined and refined versions of themselves. At their core, they haven't changed, but they are healthier, hopefully happier, and definitely feeling more secure. The most intriguing development My Bad presents is the two-pronged Liz plotline, in which her expertise as Brian and Charlie's nanny Zilla is challenged by her son Matthew's return. Unemployed and chronically clueless, obsessed with controlling every aspect of the imminent baby's existence, she's flummoxed by what to do about her own progeny's failures in life. It's a fascinating peek behind the aggressively confident grand dame of rock tumbling. Maybe if you were leaping into Shrinking Season 3 with no context, this premiere would seem frenetic, cacophonous, and contrived. But we've seen these characters put in the work. We were in on the jokes. We're part of the family now, and there's no takebacks on that. We're right there grunting like constipated warthogs alongside Jimmy and Paul, propelling Alice to victory. When the Derricks express shock over the shop's lack of belts, we feel their outrage. Jimmy's cantaloupe joke violates us just as much as Paul and the wedding guests.